Hey, welcome to the Everything SEO podcast. I'm Michaela, a stay-at-home mom of 3 who just happens to be in love with everything related to SEO, blogging, marketing, coffee, and we're shedding light into the many mystifying corners of search engine optimization and what that means for us service providers, small business owners, and bloggers. We're going to ditch the do-it-all narrative surrounding SEO and really sit down and craft strategies that are sustainable, but still get us those first page results. Now let's get cozy, grab your fave sweater and a cup of tea, and let's talk everything SEO. Hello, and welcome back to Everything SEO. Just a fun fact, hello was not planned, it just kind of happened, and I feel like I have to stick with it now. Like we're just here in the podcasting world where we're going to start with hello, welcome back. I kind of like it though, so I'm not complaining. It's more of just like a little mention. Anyways, this was not actually the episode I had planned. I had planned to go ahead and go with the interviews over the summer, but things happened and May was crazy. May was absolutely crazy. If you're on my email list, I kind of gave you a rundown of it. And if you want to hop on that email list, I do have a freebie in the show notes down below, which you're welcome to subscribe to. I only send out newsletters about once a week. And it's typically relating to SEO, blogging, or running your business and just trying to find time for other things too. But that is in the show notes. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. Essentially, May was wild and I was juggling a lot of plates here and there. And unfortunately, because this is my business is one of the main sources of income for our family, I can't clock out every time I want to clock out. It's not possible financially, and it's not possible if the kids get sick, we just got to work through it. It is what it is. There's certain times where, nothing seems to go right. But that kind of inspired my episode today. I wanted to get really candid with you and a little bit transparent about the process of working, I guess, with me. So one of the questions I get a lot when I have someone work with me is how do you write like me? How are you going to write like me? And honestly, it just comes from learning your messaging, looking at what you already have going on. So if you have an Instagram, I'm going to deep dive your Instagram. If you already have a blog, I'm going to look at your blog. Or email newsletters, you're going to see me subscribe to you because I want to know how you address your audience. I want to know how you talk. And then we have our onboarding form, and that's where I'm going to ask everything what are some common terms you like to use? What are some words that you throw in? Do you have favorite emojis? Of course, I don't really add emojis in a blog post, but I feel like it's a nice little insight to what people like. And then I always ask hey, is there anything you want me to know? Is there anything you would never be caught dead saying? And all these things I make note of. And then when we actually get into the process of working together, we start with one draft. So my minimum package, I guess to say, is 12 blog posts across 3 months. So that's 4 blog posts per month. Now that first month and this first time working together is normally actually about 4 months. And that first month is kind of prepping and research and making sure that we're aligned on what you want to sound like. And this was created because in the past, there have been, communication issues where a client said they wanted to sound a certain way and they changed it because they were in the middle of a rebrand. So after their rebrand, they were they didn't actually want to sound this way. And when we went to put the content out, we had done all of them and they're this doesn't sound like how I wanted it to sound like. Or this isn't, it was more of this doesn't align with my current brand. And I'm crap. And it was because they had shifted and the shifting did not make it to me, the blog writer. So we did go back and we fixed them and they were satisfied, of course. But now we have this wait time to make sure that we are all on the same page. And so this first month, we spend the first week, you have time to get in your onboarding, to tell me what you want to talk about, to share all these good things, and just tell me about yourself. And then we have our second week, and this is our research and planning week when we're working together. And that's when I'm going to essentially create your content calendar. I'm going to research, all the keywords that we want to rank for or any potential keywords we want to rank for. And we're going to put them and I'm going to come up with some blog post ideas that match them. And then I'm going to have a summary. And the summary is going to give a brief outline of what the blog post is going to talk about. It's going to share where I got this information from. So if it came from your Instagram, I'm going to have the Instagram post linked. If it came from your sales page, I'm going to have your sales page linked. If it came from a chat that we had, like I'm going to put a note in there. This came from our chat the other day because I like to show you like I'm not pulling these things out of thin air. You've shared them before. And while it doesn't directly relate, these things all support each other. Because every time that you post a piece of content, you're saying more than you think you're saying. Like, even if the content's about XYZ, then I'm going to pull out Z. And maybe I'm going to pull out like Z for this post and then X for this blog post. And it all comes together. So I love to have that reference material right there for you. And you may even be able to say, hey, I think like you might be able to pull something from this or, pull something from that and put that messaging into here. And that's exactly what I do. Now, it's not a requirement, of course. I can create something that you've never posted about before. And what we do in those situations, and we just kind of have a conversation about it. You can leave me voice notes, you can leave me comments, or you can add everything into our content calendar and just put it there. But essentially, we have a conversation before we even start writing. Like we have an idea of what we're going to talk about it, how we're going to talk about it, and what is going to be in this blog post. Okay, so that's our week 2 and week 3, because it's kind of approval in there too. Now, week 3 and week 4 is when we start writing. Week 3 is that first draft. So in that first draft, I'm going to pick our first blog post after we've approved our calendar, and I'm going to go ahead and write it out. I'm going to use everything we've talked about so far and just put it all together. And then it's sent off for the first round of edits. We have 2 edits when I work with clients. And this is because I always feel like, especially in blog posts, there can be some nuances. And I want to make sure that we have time to read through all of it because a lot of content can be kind of overwhelming. And I mean, I have clients that completely skip this process, especially since once we've worked together for a while and we just go straight to publishing. But it is always there in case clients do want to make edits. Now, this first draft is probably going to be the one with the most edits. And that's because I always tell my clients, like, if there's something you want to say, go ahead and say it. If there's something you think you want to add, go ahead and add it. And all these are added as suggestions in a Google Doc. And we do it this way because sometimes you might want to add too much, or sometimes I've skipped something and you're like, this information would be really helpful here. And we kind of play around with it, what information is added, how we're adding it, and we kind of get a feel for how, working together, having this back and forth. Because that's an important aspect of the process as well, is just being able to communicate these changes and kind of pick up on what I'm feeling versus what they're feeling and giving reasons why, they might think this might be a really good point to put in here, but it actually could be an entire blog post on its own. And we don't want to overwhelm the reader. There's a bunch of little balances that we go through during this process. And it's really fun, honestly. Like, this is one of my favorite parts in that first draft. And so once this first draft is done and we've approved it, and this does typically take the longest, is this first draft as well, that's when we'll create the remaining 3. And then from that point on, every batch of content will be delivered on the 18th of the month before they'll be posted. So we have time for edits, time to get any links in there. If they're talking about a specific product that hasn't launched yet, then we're going to be able to have time for them to launch it and then for me to add those links. So we have time to do that, essentially. But now, that's not to say that there are never any edits after that first draft. There are going to be edits as I learn to write like you, and even after I learn to write like you, because unfortunately, I cannot replace you, and I don't want to replace you. I just want to emulate you. I want to put your information into words so that you can share it with a bigger audience, whether that's your current audience, whether that's reaching out through Google, whether that's sharing it in your newsletter. I just want to be able to put your knowledge and expertise into words for you to share. SEO is just like a little bonus in there. A really powerful bonus, but it's a bonus too. And so that's not necessarily the last time we'll have edits. There's going to be edits. But each time there's edits, we make notes. I write down, why this was, if this is a personal style choice or is this just not on brand, then I make sure I make these notes so that we don't have to make the same edits over and over again. That's pretty much how the content goes for working with blog content for me, with the SEO blog content. And as I work with more clients and as my business continues to grow, of course, this system that I have set up changes a little bit, and I take into consideration different things. I add questions to my onboarding forms. I have different requests for clients, making notes for them specifically in different areas of our drafts. And I expect I'll continue to learn new things and how to implement different things. So learning doesn't end. But anyways, I just wanted to give that little bit of insight into the process today and how that kind of works and how we write like you. I say we, but it is just me. I'm the only one writing content here. Maybe one day, but not anytime soon. It feels too personal. If I were to outsource anything in my business, it would not be the blog writing or the SEO research. It would have to be, some type of marketing, or I have a podcast editor or Pinterest, something like that. I wouldn't be able to do my blogging. My blogging's too personal for me and my clients. That's my main connection there. But anyways, I will look forward to talking to you next week. Next week will probably be a regular episode. And then after that, we will pick up with the interviews. It'll just go into August. So throughout the end of June through July and kind of into August will be guest speakers interviews, conversations on everything SEO. We will be talking about how different aspects of your business kind of impact your SEO performance. Things such as branding, your website protection, your copyright protection, your copywriting for your home pages and your services, and even your Pinterest and how that affects your SEO. So I have a lot of guest speakers coming on, and I'm very excited. A lot of them I've worked with personally or are close business friends, or I have on my wish list to work with soon. So I'm very excited to kind of get them on and have this conversation and give you the insights. But that is it for today. Anyways, if you would like to work with me, go ahead and fill out the inquiry form on my website. I will have it linked down below. You can learn a little bit more about my services on my services page. You can, for blogging, we do 12 blog posts, 24 blog posts, or 36 blog post packages. And that is essentially 4, 8, or 12 blog posts per month. The more you post, the more likely you are to grow, the quicker it is. But that is linked in the show notes below. Also, I have recently revamped my blog SEO checklist. So it now includes a pre-write section, a during writing section, and a publish section to go through everything that I do while writing or planning or posting a blog post and how I check all those little SEO details. So that is also linked below. It is free. It is linked below in the show notes. But like I said, I look forward to talking to you next week. I am done rambling, and yeah, bye. As always, I hope you are able to learn at least one new thing today and how you can apply it to your own business or blog. Thanks for listening to this episode of Everything SEO. Don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss the next episode. It's a goodie, and check the show notes for everything we talked about today. And come connect with me on Instagram at comamama.co if you have any questions or thoughts you want to share. Talk soon.